Silverstone, the home of British motorsport, and this weekend plays host to the Open Sports Car Series. 12 chassis manufacturers, 8 different classes, thousands of brake horsepower. It's going to be electrifying. Lots of magnificent tyres down here in the holding area. Got 29 sports prototypes all ready to go for race 1. Engines are going. So I'll hand you over to our race commentator, Richard John Neal, for the grid. Thank you, Anthony. Duncan Williams on pole position, Mike Genby alongside Craig Fleming and Richard Wise row 2. Class C pole, Josh Smith from Mark Abbott. Paul Spencer Class A pole, Patrick Sherrington next from Graham Hill and Richard Stables. Darcy Smith and Daniel Prendergast on row 6. Row 7, Norman Lackford and Ian Charles. Robert Gilman and Lee Torrey, followed by Andy Chittenden and Mark Nicholson. Clive Hawkes and Alistair Smart next from Andrew Kimpton and Richard Gilman. Lone Class F runner, Matt Domin from Brent Hill. Then it's Neil Harris and Paul Myers, Roland Lewis and Adam Dale, row 14, Martin Heath on row 15. Matt Domin I can't see on the grid. We're ready for our first championship race of the year. The lights are off here at Silverstone and we are underway. It's a great start by Duncan Williams, and trying to come up into second is, and indeed doing so, is Craig Fleming around the outside of Mike Genby. Genby second on the grid, down to third in these very early stages. Richard Wise fourth, coming under pressure from Josh Smith at the back of shot. We open at Silverstone National as we did last year, and also as we did last year we close our campaign the weekend of the 15th of October on the sister track, the Silverstone International. I think there's racing on there today as Richard Wise in red looks down the inside of Josh Smith. Side by side here, Andy Chittenden outside Alistair Smart. Roland Lewis is giving chase as well. It's a fine start to the season, a great grid of cars, and some sorting out in these early stages today. Not really the start that Mike Genby would have wanted, but he had a mare last year, you might remember, and the spirit of the man through the course of the season, clawing his way back into the standings. I tell you what, he's putting pressure here on Craig Fleming, coming into Magnus, and Genby's through. Mike Genby into second place, great move. Richard Wise has consolidated fourth place up ahead of Josh Smith. Fleming's going to have a look down the inside line, but Mike Genby looking at a black dot in the distance, which is Duncan Williams, the pole man, but Genby back where he qualified now in that second position, and we'll be hoping to try and close in on the leader. It is, of course, early days. Norman Lackford going through, up ahead of Patrick Sherrington, running in the Class A MCR Sport. Good to see Patrick joining the ranks of OSS runners. There is Craig Fleming. Richard Wise back in fourth place, the lead Class C car, the little Radical, the white car with the red front of Josh Smith, the defending champion. Josh, an outright winner here last year at Silverstone, the opening round of the year. Mike Genby really getting on the case now, trying to close down on Duncan Williams in the Juno. Duncan's qualifying time just under half a second clear of Mike Genby in qualifying. The average speed 111.16 miles per hour in qualifying. So there is Craig Fleming, a very welcome returnee to the championship. Craig Fleming has got a lot of race winning pedigree. We'll talk about the statistics of Craig Fleming a little bit later on in the meeting, but it's Duncan Williams out front. Mike Genby's just gone out of shot. There's the third place man, Craig Fleming. Richard Wise is next. The top four holding sway from where they were on the grid. Indeed, make that the top five, because it's Josh Smith, of course, the leading Class C man, reigning champion. He'll be looking to bag as many class wins as he can. Class C, I've got to say, a little bit closer, because Mark Abbott was right behind him. Josh Smith last year, you may well remember, had a lot of other cars between himself and his competition. Briefly saw Smith followed by Paul Spencer, Mark Abbott, Graham Hill and Darcy Smith. Looking at the two cars running third and fourth, hesitate to call it a battle because they're not really close enough at the moment to do that. But Fleming from Richard Wise in the Chiron, there is the man chasing for race lead at the moment. Duncan Williams, it might possibly be getting a little bit closer into the sights now of Mike Genby. Genby goes through Copse Corner,
heading up into Maggots. You'll see the kink around to the left, very slight kink to the left, and then around into the long right-hander at Beckett's, which leads them onto the Wellington Straight. And if we stay on board, keep your eyes on the speedo at the bottom of the shot here. We're getting up towards 150 miles an hour here, coming down into Brooklands, just shy of that, but not much shy. So Patrick Sherrington chasing Clive Hawkes. Clive, the Class A man, Sherrington Class A as well, so a good battle between those two. As Mike Genvy piling the pressure down. Mike Genvy has caught Duncan Williams and putting him under big pressure at the moment. So Genvy, this is the run around Luffield, heading towards Woodcote. Genvy has caught him, as you can see, a massive gap back to third place, which incidentally is still Craig Fleming. But these two have pulled clear. They're going to start getting up amongst more backmarker traffic soon as well, and that could play either way. But it's Duncan Williams still out front at the moment. Here's Mike Genvy through. He's very pulled off the move to take second position away from Craig Fleming. He's getting closer and closer, Mike Genvy. As we said, a spirited championship last year. He only missed out on the class title by a single point, just because he didn't get fastest lap in the last race of the year. It was an absolute nail-biter, and here comes Genvy, makes the move, Genvy's through, into the lead. Duncan Williams is going to try and fight back, they're giving each other room, but Genvy ultimately clears the number 10 car, grabs the line going into Luffield, through Woodcote now. Genvy the leader. Are we going to see? I'm sure we're going to see a response from Duncan Williams. So Mike Genvy, it was a big gap in the early stages, but he's come through. Genvy is leading. Super stuff. They're catching Norman Lackford now. You can see Norman in the blue and yellow car immediately ahead. So backmarker traffic, as we said, could well become an issue. Through Maggots, up in towards Beckett's again. Lackford, I think the oldest driver in the race, runs with these guys in Class B, and Genvy makes the pass off the back marker with ease, down the straight again. Just having a quick look in the mirror, we can't see what's going on with Duncan Williams behind, but this is Genvy coming into Brooklands, and it's deep, oh, far too deep, and off for Duncan Williams into a gyration as well. He's facing the right way, so hopefully if the motor's running, he'll fire it up and rejoin. It's not going to be a quick rejoin, is it, for Duncan Williams, the erstwhile leader, pole position man, and this is going to very much play into Mike Genvy's hands. So Duncan does get restarted, but he's lost quite a few places, Duncan Williams, so not the start that he wanted, but he has recovered. That's the good news. A fair way down, so he's got work to do. Probably lower reaches of the top 10, very possibly. We are away into the race. There's Martin Heath in the 66 car. Martin working his way through from the back of the grid and running well. We catch up with Patrick Sherrington, Ian Charles in 124 immediately ahead, and Duncan Williams immediately behind. So Duncan is going to look at the inside line here of Patrick Sherrington coming out of Maggots and through into Beckett's. Nothing doing there, but he'll bide his time. Probably make a move here on the straight. He knows he's got the faster car, assuming nothing was damaged in the off on the exit of Brooklands. Mike Genvy well clear at the moment. Now Duncan Williams set the fastest lap of the race so far. It's back on lap 5 at 53.402, but clearly Genvy was closing in on him and took the lead. And Genvy starting to, or continuing to get involved with backmarker traffic. So he heads off down the Wellington Straight again, very well clear at the moment of Craig Fleming, who I guess is going to be reasonably pleased, should he finish, to finish in second position and up on the podium as we watch Ian Charles in the Radical PR6 going through. Here is Mike Genvy once again. So Genvy about to effect a pass on Mark Mickelson, which he does with relative ease, and you can see here still some crowded track. The 16 car is Paul Spencer. Graham Hill up ahead of him, and Mike Genvy continues to lap these cars, and they're falling a little about right for him. He's dealing with them pretty well, but you can see him at the back of this group. Graham Hill in 72, running in a strong position. He's on the podium at the moment in Class C, and Mike Genvy goes through, passes Richard Stables. Darcy Smith is passed as well by the race leader. Darcy running 4th in Class B. So this has been remarkable progress here by Mike Genvy. He's lapped some of the runners in the top 10 and continues to make progress around the outside line. Graham Hill will be his next target in the 72 car. So Hill goes through on the inside line. There is Mike Genvy still chasing hard and setting some good laps. Genvy goes through, passes Richard Gilman, and he's going to pass Graham Hill here as well on the inside line. So Mike Genvy has now cleared the 7th place driver Graham Hill, so he's lapped everybody outside the top 6. Remarkable drive from Mike Genvy from 2nd position on the grid, and it looks like he is heading for a race. We're into the closing stages. You can see the counter saying 20 minutes. That's from when he went out, of course, and these are 20-minute races. That was from the reconnaissance lap or installation lap, call it what you will. Genvy still out front here. Big lead over Craig Fleming in 2nd position. Richard Wise is still running in 3rd, and we will have the conclusion for you after the break. Welcome back to the Silverstone National Circuit, the opening championship race of the 2017 BRSCC Excool OSS Championship. The race leader is Mike Genvy, 2nd in Class B last year, of course the champion from 2015, and Genvy is well clear, 10 seconds clear of Craig Fleming, who returns to the championship in the Juno, and he's on for a podium. Richard Wise, as we mentioned before the break, is in 3rd place. That's Alistair Smart that we're closing in on. Smart looks as if he's keeping a tight line, possibly going into the pits as Genvy will start his final lap. Indeed, it does look like Alistair Smart is off into the pit lane, which is a shame. But Genvy is clear. Up ahead of him, the Class A car of Roland Lewis, the yellow and black J3 Chrysler. Not sure whether Mike will be able to lap Roland for a 2nd time. Roland looks to have some decent pace. This is the view coming through into Beckett's for the last time. Mike Genvy heading the race outright. Class C led by last year's champion Josh Smith, who is a couple of cars ahead of Mark Abbott. Duncan Williams between himself and Mark Abbott at the moment. Class A led by Paul Spencer. Class D, lone entrant, is Neil Harris. But Mike Genvy, what a race we've seen from Mike. Started P2, was 3rd by the first corner, worked his way back into 2nd past Craig Fleming, and then past Duncan Williams, and his reward will be the checkered flag, which we're going to see from on board through Woodcote, and it's the checker. He punches the air with delight. Mike Genvy wins round 1 of the championship. Craig Fleming next from Richard Wise. Josh Smith wins Class C. Duncan Williams recovers for 5th. Mark Abbott next from Graham Hill and Darcy Smith. Paul Spencer winning Class A. Richard Stables next from Norman Lackford and Roland Lewis. Daniel Prendergast and Ian Charles next from Patrick Sherrington, Martin Heath, Robert Gilman, Andy Chittenden, Richard Gilman, Andrew Kimpton and Mark Nicholson, with Class D going the way of Neil Harris. Fastest lap of the race outright going to Duncan Williams. Josh Smith fastest lap in Class C, then Paul Spencer and Neil Harris A and D fastest laps.
Well, Mike, a better start than last year. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, it's a really, really good race.
Much refinement done over the winter to the car?
More refinement than anything major. So last year was all the major projects, new bodywork, new diffusers, new front splitter, and then this year's been a bit more about refinement, sorting the cooling out, which is what gave us problems here this time last year when we failed to finish 3 races. So yeah, much better start than last year.
Mike got up behind me in the traffic, and there was a yellow flag, so I had to slow down, couldn't overtake. Mike got right up behind me, and I'll be honest, he surprised me. I didn't realise he was there. I thought I got a few seconds, and he outdragged me and got by me, and then trying to get back on terms with him, yeah, bit of Not enough talent and too much ambition, I think, at that point.
Well, Josh, starting where you left off, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we had a good race really. It was quite quiet. We chased Richard Wise home in his Chiron, but fourth overall, first in class is perfect for race one of the year and gets us the full points that we need.
Well, Craig, you've been out racing for a couple of years, but straight back in and straight back on the podium. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's nice to be up at the sharp end and somewhere towards the front. Not quite in front, so we've got a little bit more to do, but yeah, on the whole, yeah, quite happy with that.
And what a fantastic race series to be involved with.
Yeah, it's really come on in leaps and bounds, and you know, when we first started in it, probably back in 2012, the quality of cars were really good, but the numbers were a bit thin, whereas I think now you've got, you know, good numbers and still some good cars in it as well, all varying in sort of specification and performance, so I think it makes it interesting.
Race 2 for the Open Sports Car Series heading out on track. Genvi's got the first win of the season, but Duncan Williams has got the pace. Here's Richard O'Neill with the grid.
And of course, as he has the pace, he has pole position. Duncan ahead of Mike Genvy, then Craig Fleming and Richard Wise, Josh Smith with Mark Abbott, the leading Class C runners on row 3. Paul Spencer leads Class A. Graham Hill next from Richard Stables and Darcy Smith. Daniel Prendergast on row 6 with Norman Lackford. 7th row, Patrick Sherrington and Ian Charles, then John Gilman and Robert Gilman. Lee Torrey and Andy Chittenden completing the 9th row. The 10th row comprised by Mark Nicholson and Alastair Smart. Clive Hawkes and Andrew Kimpton next from Neil Harris and Brent Hill. Paul Watson and Paul Myers next from Roland Lewis and Adam Dale. Martin Heath again on row 15 has work to do. Pole position, the black car of Duncan Williams, but on the inside line, very quick off the start, is Mike Genvy, who won race number 1. So it's Williams in 2nd, Fleming 3rd, on board with Graham Hill, and going around the outside the Class A car, around the outside of the Class C machine, that's Paul Spencer, the leading Class A car. Duncan Williams already looking to try and get stuck in to Mike Genvy, who is out front. So it's Genvy, Williams, Fleming. Here's Graham Hill still involved in the battle with Paul Spencer. The Class C car, of course, in theory could be a little bit more nimble coming into the complex here. Into Brooklands, let's watch him close up. Spencer still out front, so the Class A car goes a little bit wide. Graham Hill goes through on the inside line. Graham Hill very modestly on his driver form says not the Graham Hill. We know what he means, but he's our Graham Hill, the OSS Championship Graham Hill, car number 72, a multiple class champion nonetheless. Class champion in 2015, 2013 and 2012. The only driver to beat him to the class title was Josh Smith last year, and also in 2014 when Josh won the overall championship. So no mean pilot for sure, Graham Hill. Oh, it's Duncan Williams out front now while I'm spouting on statistically. Duncan Williams has the lead from Mike Genvy, back with Graham Hill, and it's good to talk about Graham Hill. It's good to talk about the different classes that are involved, and you saw in the early stages here just how the Class C cars can mix it up with the bigger engine machines. Hill comes into Brooklands, a little bit of a gap ahead of him at the moment. The green Radical of Mark Abbott immediately ahead. There is Craig Fleming, a good reintroduction to the formula for him, and it sounds like he's enjoying himself, and Duncan Williams will be enjoying himself too, with the race lead and pulling away at the moment from Mike Genvy. Genvy we saw in race number 1 as the race developed, started to close in. Genvy had a much better start this time, and it's going to augur well what we've seen between those two drivers for this year's championship. 15 races over the course of the year. There was a pre-season friendly, I guess you'd call it in football terms, but it was a non-championship meeting a few weeks ago, which gave the runners a chance to blow, or some of the runners a chance to blow the cobwebs away. There's Darcy Smith with Norman Lackford immediately behind, ahead of Darcy, the 95 car of Richard Stables, 5th in class in race number 1. Darcy Smith was 4th in Class C, so those two resuming battle. And ahead of them, 72, that's one of our two onboard drivers in this race, Graham Hill, who finished in 7th place outright, but a class podium in race number 1 for Graham. Darcy Smith coming, I was going to say under pressure from Norman Lackford. It's not pressure, but let's say that Lackford not that far away at the moment. Darcy Smith probably closer to Richard Stables, and there we had a great outfield shot of Paul Spencer in the leading Class A car. Patrick Sherrington qualified second in Class A from Clive Hawkes. Roland Lewis at the back of the field in the J3. Chrysler will be looking to make some progress. The 63 car. He actually finished in second position, so a good drive in race number 1. Second position in class for Roland Lewis, just outside the overall top 10. Here's the view from Graham Hill once again in the 72. So Hill having a good run here, ahead of Paul Spencer, so he made that stick. There is Norman Lackford, I think the oldest driver in the championship. I don't have all of the driver ages in the biographies, but certainly a veteran of the championship. And chasing through, 4 cars all pretty much close together, and in shot there is Darcy Smith, 4th in class race number 1, 8th overall, so decent race finish. Here's the onboard again from Graham Hill. That's a wide turn in. He's going to grab the apex nonetheless, doesn't run too wide, setting himself up for Luffield. Luffield continues on round into Woodcote. You might remember, I've memories of F1 racing on that particular part of the circuit. Obviously weren't racing on the national circuit with the F1 Grand Prix, but remember, I think it was the Emerson Fittipaldi won the race here when he was in the pits, because we had a downpour, several cars going off into catch fencing. That's showing my age, isn't it? Catch fencing on the outside. But anyway, I digress. We're here at this wonderful venue, and a good point to make is, of course, that this is a Grand Prix venue. Although we're racing on the national circuit, race on the other half of the circuit in October. It's very much a premium circuit, and it's one where sponsors, guests, drivers, supporters all love watching their racing. 44 car, Andrew Kimpton, 7th in class race 1, 20th overall, but we're back with Graham Hill and a super onboard shot. Cloud coverage significantly more, big dark cloud over there. Let's hope that that doesn't come through to anything. Mike Genby going through, then Craig Fleming, Josh Smith in 4th place again. Behind Josh, the green car of Mark Abbott. That's Neil Harris in the red Radical Club Sport, the lone Class D runner, hoping to grab another Class D win. He was 22nd overall in race 1, but finished and picked up the Class D points. Dan Prendergast, incidentally, the Class E defending, well, not defending champion, reigning champion. Dan Prendergast now running in Class C, so it's going to be interesting to see what Dan can do. He was 6th in class in race number 1, and some traffic developing. The 58 car is Clive Hawkes, working his way through the field, passes Brent Hill in the blue Spire GT3, and back with Graham Hill, who's running 3rd in class again. So Graham Hill on perhaps for another podium, underlining his speed and consistency here at Silverstone. Ticks off another lap on the national circuit. Meanwhile, the race leader is still Duncan Williams. We're looking at the 3rd place man, Craig Fleming. Fleming in 3rd. Graham Hill is back in 6th place and 3rd in Class C. And we'll have more action, the conclusion from race number 2 here at Silverstone for you after the break. Welcome back to Silverstone. Duncan Williams is dealing with the traffic in exemplary style here. It looks like we may well have 2 winners from 2 races. I'll tell you what, it's going to be good news for Josh Smith, because he is leading Class C, and it means the Class B Championship effectively takes overall points away, but we want to see different winners. And Duncan Williams negotiating the traffic very, very well indeed. The mistake that he made, by his own admission, in race number 1 cost him not only the win but a podium, but he did finish in 4th place, so he has decent points. There are drop scores to take into account, but a 4th place drop score, not as bad as a retirement, you have to say, in the first event of the year. The retirees from race number 1, Adam Dale, Clive Hawkes in his Jade. Alistair Smart we saw going into pit lane towards the end. Lee Torrey and also Brent Hill in the Spire. So those guys hoping to get a decent finish here, some decent mileage on the clock before they start to think negatively about their championship campaigns. Duncan Williams, though, in fine fettle here and ticking off car after car. Duncan around the outside, he's going to nip back in and goes through, passing the 1-2-4 car of Ian Charles. Ian running well in this one. Ian's in Class C, running in 6th position. And Duncan Williams has made super progress up through the field, pretty much on a similar trajectory lapping-wise as Mike Genvy was in race number 1. Genvy, remember, won race 1 by 10 seconds. Duncan Williams is already over 10 seconds clear and continues to work his way through the traffic. That's Norman Lackford, who is the next target. Norman looks in his mirrors, sees the race leader coming through. Norman's running 9th, 4th in Class B. So the only Class B drivers ahead of Norman are Craig Fleming, who's in 3rd, Mike Genvy 2nd, and that man, Duncan Williams, who is onto his last lap here. And looks like he's going to win round 2 of the championship. Darcy Smith is 8th. He's in the green and black car, 5th in Class C. And we've got 5 Class C cars all together on track. Josh Smith, Mark Abbott, Graham Hill, Richard Stables, Darcy Smith, not separated by any other class cars. So Darcy 5th in class behind Richard Stables. But this race has been about Duncan Williams. Fastest lap again early on in the race, lap number 4 at 53.2. And Duncan Williams is going to add a win to the 4th position recovery he took in race number 1. Williams takes the checkered flag and wins round 2 of the championship. Mike Genvy 2nd from Craig Fleming. Josh Smith wins Class C. Mark Abbott next from Graham Hill and Richard Stables. Darcy Smith from Norman Lackford. Paul Spencer wins Class A. Robert Gilman next from Roland Lewis. Ian Charles, John Gilman from Patrick Sherrington, Andrew Kimpton, Clive Hawkes from Alistair Smart and Daniel Prendergast. Adam Dale was next from Martin Heath. Andy Chittenden with Neil Harris 23rd and winning Class D.
Well, Duncan, you started on pole, finished in 1st, but Mike didn't make it easy for you.
No, whenever Mike's on the circuit, it's always a challenge, and I had to try and get away in the 2nd race, because first race we hit traffic and he mugged me and got by. The 2nd one I wanted to get a little bit more distance until we hit the back markers.
Oh, Craig, 3rd again. It wasn't easy though.
No, like I said to you earlier, I think that's pretty much all we've got really. I think Duncan was disappeared and gone and off enjoying himself, but I think me and Mike would have had a good race, but it's just back markers we got caught up in, and yeah, didn't quite fall my way. Maybe it might change tomorrow.
Maybe, but talk us through the car. It's a fantastic thing to look at, but it's an early Juno chassis.
Yes, it's a 2006 car, which originally was built just for sort of track days, and then we've developed it and brought it up to its current spec. So kind of like Trigger's Broom, I suppose, compared to the original thing. But yeah, CH Contracting that back us have been fantastic, and like I say, over the last couple of years, we've just developed it and made it what it is now.
And you've got your mechanic who was just there a moment ago looking through the analytics of the car. He's not only looking at the engine performance, but he's looking at your driving as well.
Massively, all over me. He is like a rash, but he is the brains behind the job, to be fair. So yeah, Alex is very, very good, and his dedication to it, you know, bearing in mind all these mechanics, I don't really quite understand their logic sometimes, because they come here and do all the hard work for somebody else to enjoy it. It's quite strange, but yeah, they work flat out, and yeah, what they can gain from the data, you know, they can find more in me often as a driver than what they can in the car. So yeah, a bit of time on that's well spent.
Paul Spencer, it was close, but class winner, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. It's 2 class wins today. I couldn't have got any better than that. So very good day out.
And it's a fantastic little car as well. It's got Radical's own version of a V8 in it, 2.6, 360 brake horsepower.
Yes, that's right. It's actually 2 Suzuki Hayabusa engines, which are mated together onto a custom-made crankcase, and that gives 8 cylinders. So as you say, it's about 360 at the wheels, with 650 kilos. That makes it a very quick car.
Race 3 heading out on track right now. We've got Genvy and Duncan Williams on the top spot of the grid. Gemvy's got one win, Duncan's got another. Who's going to come out victorious this time? Well, here's Richard with the grid.
It's going to be a fascinating race. Williams and Genvy on the front row of the grid. Craig Fleming and Josh Smith next from Mark Abbott and Graham Hill. Fourth row, Richard Stables and Darcy Smith. Then it's Norman Lackford and Paul Spencer. Robert Gilman 11th on the grid from Ian Charles. Row 7, Patrick Sherrington and Andrew Kimpton. Then it's Clive Hawkes and Alistair Smart. Daniel Prendergast on row 9 with Adam Dale. Martin Heath is next from Andy Chittenden. Then Neil Harris and Mark Nicholson. Brent Hill and Lee Torrey. Paul Myers, Richard Ferns, Richard Gilman and Matt Domin complete the grid, which is about to approach the lights out. A little bit of a gap at the moment, so we wait for them to come into shot. There they are, headed by in black on the front row. Outside, remember, is pole here at Silverstone National. Duncan Williams in the Juno, looking to make it 2 wins out of 2. Fine start by all concerned. And as they go into Copse Corner, it's Mike Genvy leading, but round the outside goes Craig Fleming in the white and blue Juno ahead of the black machine of Duncan Williams, who's fighting for second. And Williams here, never mind fighting for the lead, is trying to hang on to second place or get second position back. Still leading Class C, Josh Smith from Mark Abbott. Graham Hill is third in Class C. And a fine sight they make, but it's Mike Genvy, super start from Genvy. Williams looks on the inside line, Williams in black, Fleming in white, so it's Genvy gun ahead of a brace of Junos. Then the radical battle going on in Class C. Josh Smith, remember, was the man in fourth spot there, was overall winner here in race 3 last year. 3 different race winners being Duncan Williams, Graham Cole, Class A runner, and Josh Smith. So, and I think we had 3 different winners at round 2 as well, if memory serves correct. So it goes to show what a very competitive championship this is. A great one for spectators to watch as Patrick Sherrington comes under pressure and he's passed by Norman Lackford, the radical, going past the MCR Sport. And also coming through is Clive Hawkes, who went through in white as well. So Clive Hawkes is there. Martin Heath up ahead of Lee Torrey. Double retirement so far for Lee. Let's hope that he can get a finish in this one in his radical. Phil sorting themselves out, coming down the Wellington Straight. Doesn't look like Patrick Sherrington's lost any more positions for the moment, so we tend to get a bit of a levelling out. The grid, incidentally, set on the fastest lap set by each driver in the previous race. So qualifying sets the grids for race 1 and 2, and then it's how you perform in race number 2 fast with that. So it's a good system because it gives the driver an incentive if there's a problem or a spin or something like that to get back out on track and set a better lap to get a better grid position for the final race of the weekend. Richard Wise, who wasn't in race 2 in the red Chiron, is back on track and making very good progress through from the back of the field. And I don't think I name-checked Richard Wise on the grid, but clearly he is there and racing hard. It is still, though, out front. Mike Genvy getting away at the moment from Duncan Williams. Craig Fleming now down to third, and this is the view for the fourth place man. Leading Class C driver Josh Smith, not too far away from the Class B runners, as Josh always seems to be. But I'll say it again, we're seeing a much closer Class C this year, with Mark Abbott trying to take the battle to Josh Smith at the moment. He was in the green Class C Radical PR6. Here's the view from Josh again. It's Craig Fleming that we're chasing. Through Maggots, grabs the apex on the outside. Wide line in, problems for, I think that's Paul Myers in the Yamaha Global GT Light. Formula that used to run on its own, but there's a home for any cars that are kicking around. Any Yamaha Global GT Lights that are around can come and race with us in the Excool OSS Championship. I think there were reserve drivers this weekend. Very well subscribed. Craig Fleming was saying how big the grids are this year. Absolutely superb, as they were last year. And people literally queuing up to come in and race in the championship. So front positions starting to get settled now, and a little bit of a gap developing between the cars that go through. Richard Stables goes through, and Darcy Smith in the number 2. Healthy 2/8 position so far, 4th and 5th in class. So not been a bad stint for Darcy Smith, but now we're on board again with Josh Smith, still not losing too much ground on Craig Fleming. Craig Fleming, I did promise to talk about Craig earlier on, had an outright win here in 2014 on the National Circuit. He's had 2 class wins here as well on Silverstone National, and he's the target at the moment for Josh Smith, who is leading Class C, 4th position outright. Is he going to be able to get an outright win as he did last year? Well, you'll have to join us after the break to find out. Welcome back to Silverstone, race 3 of our first meeting for the OSS Excool BRSCC OSS Championship Open Sports Car Series. And there is Duncan Williams, busy at the moment chasing the race leader, Mike Genby. Made a great start. So Williams having overhauled Craig Fleming to get into 2nd place. Fleming a little way back, in amongst the back markers, but still showing overall podium pace here, Craig Fleming. But it's Mike Genby out front, Fleming in the white car with the blue trim, and returning to the championship. We're saying before the break about Craig's record. Josh Smith still, of course, leading Class C. Craig Fleming with 8 overall wins in the championship, 11 class wins in his career. And Mike Genby still out front here, but Duncan Williams far from giving up. The way the races have panned out so far, a win apiece for Genby and Williams. Williams getting fastest lap early on in both of those races, but thus far it's been ultra competitive between those two. So Genby still out front, Williams in 2nd, Josh Smith leading Class C, Mark Abbott still 2nd in Class C, Graham Hill is running 3rd in class. Then in Class A we've got Paul Spencer, who I think is heading towards a hat-trick of wins in car number 16, and Paul again inside the top 10 in that class. The other class represented is Class D. Neil Harris is still running. Now the flag's being shown, the purple code 60. It'll be the first time that you'll have seen that on the OSS Championship. It basically replaces the safety car for this year, and what it means is that something's happened on track. Oh, no overtaking there, probably hasn't reached the code 60s yet, but essentially the drivers have to slow down right the way around the track to 60 kilometres per hour. I was suspecting it's the car on the inside there at Luffield that's causing the problem, but the drivers slowed down. Now, there are many reasons why we have code 60 instead of safety car, one of which is that the organisers don't have to deploy the safety car and bring it back in. The other reason, from a driver's perspective, is if you've built a lead, and that's Martin Heath there in the 66 car who has a problem, and that could be the reason for the code 60. The other reason is that, and we're going green again, is that you have to maintain the gap between yourself and the car in front. Several of them have closed up. From a driver's perspective, it is difficult to restart because the green flag can be shown anywhere around the circuit rather than waiting for a safety car to come in. So it could mean you get caught on cold tyres, and is that what's happened to Mike Genby? Because Duncan Williams has gone through into the lead. Williams very quick off the restart. Now, I said that the drivers are supposed to maintain a gap, but the top 3 are all together here. That was their first experience of purple code 60. As a personal preference, I've got to say I prefer a safety car, but that's just my opinion. It means the drivers with a safety car, they know when the green flag's coming out because they know the lights go out on the safety car. But Mike Genby has now got to try and chase. Genby in 2nd place. Duncan Williams is the race leader, and we're in towards the closing stages of this one. Still in 3rd position is Craig Fleming, and well, we'll have to hear from Mike Genby if he was caught out on cold tyres, but certainly it's these drivers' first First go at the Purple Code 60. Whilst I prefer safety car, I applaud the BRSCC for what they've done this year. Always looking for new ways to improve racing. The racing experience for everybody is nothing worse for a driver than having a good lead being negated by a safety car. We're on board with Josh Smith, reigning champion, Class C leader, looks on the inside line of the 86 car of Richard Gilman, who's running 10th position in Class C. So the race leaders well up amongst the traffic in this 20-minute race. And it looks like Josh Smith here could lead the championship jointly with Paul Spencer. Although, of course, the drivers are effectively racing in their own classes. Patrick Sherrington about to be lapped as well. That's a little bit of a surprise. Patrick running third in Class A. Josh Smith goes past Patrick and down the Wellington Straight once again. By my reckoning, we've got another lap to go on the timing. The Purple Code 60, of course, sorry to harp on about this, but it does ensure that we don't have a race stoppage. That's the predominant thing, so the drivers are getting their track time. So there is the defending champion, who is going to wind up with 3 class wins by the look of it once again this weekend, and will at the very least have a joint championship lead as we head to our second event of the year over the weekend of the 18th of June at Rockingham Motor Speedway at Corby. Super complex is Rockingham, of course, so too is Silverstone. Rockingham, massive Rockingham building where you can spectate. I hope you can join us for that race, but Mike Genvy is on an absolute mission to try and hunt down the race leader. The checkered flag is being prepared. It's Duncan Williams who leads this one. It could be 2-1 to Williams, but Genvy is on an absolute charge on this last lap. Comes out of Woodcote, and the checkered flag though is going to go to Duncan Williams. Williams takes the win, and Genvy on the last lap of the race sets fastest lap. Boy, was he determined after the Purple Code 60. Josh Smith is going to take 4th place. Craig Fleming got 3rd overall. Josh Smith will win class. There is Josh, and look for the checker. Josh Smith takes the win again in Class C. So it was Williams, Genvy from Craig Fleming. Josh Smith wins Class C. Richard Wise next from Mark Abbott. Graham Hill, Richard Stables. Paul Spencer wins Class A again. Robert Gilman, Lee Torrey, Norman Lackford. Clive Hawkes next from Dan Prendergast. Then Brent Hill, Darcy Smith, Adam Dale from Alistair Smart. Patrick Sherrington, 3rd in Class A. Richard Gilman from Ian Charles. Andy Chittenden, Mark Nicholson and Neil Harris winning Class D.
Josh Smith, you're making this look easy. It's a clean sweep.
Yeah, it was a perfect start really for us for this weekend. Obviously, first time out in the car this year. The boys at Bridgewater College have done great again, as they do every year. And car was faultless. Bit of understeer. Tyres are probably still pretty hanging because they're last year's tyres. We'll correct that with a new set of boots at Rockingham in 3 weeks' time.
And I suppose your mind is already on the championship, because you can still beat Genvy and also Williams to the title again.
Yeah, that's it, because it's a multi-class championship. The nice thing is you don't have to have a Class B or a Class A car to win it outright. Everyone's got an equal opportunity, and Class C is kind of the most popular class in the championship now. I think there's half the grid is Class C cars, so we beat everyone that we needed to today. It'd be great, obviously, to be mixing it with Duncan and Mike and Craig and everyone else in the sort of the juniors and the Genvy guns, but just haven't got the horsepower to kind of keep up with them. But we tick the box of what we need to do.
Paul, it's been a clean sweep of wins, but this time was the first time you had a Code 60 board out.
Yes, that's right. It's a new drill for all of us. From my perspective, it seemed to go okay. Everybody slowed down in unison, but I hear from some of the other drivers elsewhere on the circuit that not everybody saw it at the same time, which resulted in some dangerous speed differentials. But I'm sure we'll get used to it after a bit more practice.
And a lot of the Class A competitors aren't here this weekend, so you've got to make the most of it.
Yes, exactly. I had a much easier run than I would have expected. I'm sure that'll be different when they all come back for the future rounds, and I'll have to fight for every point that I win.
Yeah. Well, for now, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Mike, you got a great start. Got him into the first corner, but it was that Code 60 flag that caught you out.
Yeah, it was an interesting race. We were running new pads in that race, and so I knew I was going to have no brakes sometime around, or brake problems sometime around the first couple of laps. So I was actually quite pleased to be in the lead. Got him, just into the first corner. Saw Craig who got by as well, so it gave me a bit of a gap. But arriving at the end of the straight on the first lap was a bit of a interesting, and the brakes faded halfway through the braking, and then it made braking for the next corner interesting. I was like, are they? They came in, and I had a nice gap, and I saw him closing me up, but I wasn't too worried. We just started to get into the back markers, but then the code 60. Just the tyres had obviously gone cold, and when the green flags came out, I couldn't see any flags at the time. I just saw the car in front of me suddenly accelerate, so I assumed, and I went and just understeered straight off as we headed off down the back straight. And just before I understeered off the track, I looked in my mirror and I saw a black car there, and I was like, no. And then I just needed another lap to get him. I think I got the quickest lap on the last lap of the race, and the car was absolutely brilliant, absolutely flying. So I just needed that next lap, and I'd have done him.
Well, you sort of set a scene for the rest of the season. It's going to be you and Duncan fighting out. Obviously, Josh has got a hat-trick of wins as well, so he's riding a championship race. Yeah, I mean, championships, it's interesting with the classes, but obviously we're fighting for the Class B championship with Duncan. Craig's not that far behind either, and there's a couple of other quick cars coming out, so I think the Class B's, Duncan, disastrous start, but the code 60 flag saved you.
Yeah, at the start I grabbed second too soon, and Mike went away, and then Craig got round the outside on a brilliant move, but then I got two cars to get by to get into the lead, so a bit more of a challenge.
And Mike saw you in his mirrors, which put him off, and that's why he went off. Yeah,
I think that the code 60 was really interesting, because you're going around looking for the green flag, and you don't know when it's going to come out, so it sort of brings another element into the racing. And I heard Mike's engine go, so I knew the green flags were out, so we were then up and running.
Just during the code 60, have you got to have the car in the right gear at the right power band, just in case the green flag just does come out?
Yeah, you look at what's on the circuit. If there's a car beached, then you know you've got a couple of laps. On that one, the main straight had been cleared, so we knew that we were going to be up and running, so we were both in first gear waiting for the green flags.
You came out victorious again, well done.
No, thank you.
So it's 2 out of 3 for Duncan Williams, 1 win for Mike Genvy, and a hat-trick for Josh Smith. Please join us next time where the action comes from Rockingham.